Okay, so in this essay we're looking at a problem and solution question. Okay, problem and solution. So the topic is that in some countries the average weight of people is increasing and their levels of health and fitness are decreasing. What do you think are the causes of these problems and what measures could be taken to solve them? Okay, so pretty basic premise, the obesity crisis and fitness, and so this you're supposed to talk about what do you think some of the causes are and then give some possible solutions to this issue. So let's have a look at what this candidate's written. So in this introduction, first thing I'm going to think, maybe you guys are thinking it too, first thing I'm thinking is too short. 2 sentences, it's just not developed enough, which is my first thought looking at it. So it's not a good impression that you want to be giving to the person reading your essay. So as the countries become more developed, which countries? So you're talking in general. As countries become more developed, the people are getting fatter. Which people? You've not told me. People are getting fatter. Or, you know, people are getting fatter and it has become a major issue for their health. Okay, so my other issue here is that this shouldn't have a full stop. It's an and, so it should be linked together. So why would you write 2 short sentences or a sentence fragment when you can have a longer sentence and try and go for the more complex grammar? So as countries become more developed, people are getting fatter and it has become a major issue for their health. Okay, what is the cause of these problems and what should we do to solve them? Okay, so these are like some of my least favorite sentences to read in an introduction. Okay, because what are you doing? You're repeating from the question. Okay, so this is a repeat of this start up here. You've not told me your opinion. You've not given me subtopics. You've not told me what you're going to talk about. So what's the point of the sentence? Okay, so what I always tell candidates to do, you can always in the sentence you can give an opinion, you know, or what's your overall point, and you can also tell me your subtopics. So subtopics means what are you going to talk about in the next couple of paragraphs? What problems are you going to talk? What causes are you going to talk about? What solutions are you going to talk about? You know, there's a lot of different things that might be causing this, so you should give me some indication about what you're going to talk about in the answer. Okay, so you could say something like, while the main causes of these problems are the increase in the convenience of modern life, there are several steps that governments can take to solve this. Okay, so what you've then told me is that what are you going to talk about, and that you think the most important cause of this is convenience in modern life, and that then you're going to talk specifically about government solutions. Okay, so that would be a much stronger second sentence to put in your introduction rather than just repeating the question. This sentence doesn't really do anything for me except showing me that you can read the question and then you can regurgitate the same words. Okay, so I always tell candidates that's something you can really work on in an introduction, how to write a sentence that introduces both an opinion and subtopics. Okay, what are you going to be talking about? The one thing I do like about this is that they have mentioned developed countries, which is good because the question does say in some countries. Okay, so this candidate has made an attempt to pick out which countries. In some countries, weight is going up and they're saying developed countries. So that was a good point that I liked. Okay, so let me go on to, there have been a lot of innovations for machinery, innovations in something. There have been a lot of innovations in medicine. There have been a lot of innovations in teaching technology. So there have been a lot of innovations in machinery and equipment to make people to be more comfortable, to make people more comfortable. And this machines, so we've got plural in this, so it should be these. And these machines, these machines help the owner to move less. For example, when we don't have a laundry machine, we should wash the clothes by hand. Laundry machine, we would just call it a washing machine. So a washing machine is for clothes and a dishwasher is for your cups and plates. Doing laundry is the process of washing and drying your clothes. So you would say, I can't come out today, I'm doing laundry. Okay, but we would call it a washing machine, and then the dryer is just called the dryer or the tumble dryer. So we wouldn't really say laundry machine. So for example, when we don't have a washing machine, we should wash clothes by hand. For that, we used to bring our clothes to the riverside or bring water from the river to our home. In addition, these kinds of innovations have changed the industries. have changed industries. The major industries are changing from agriculture to manufacturing and to IT. So the jobs need less labours than before. Okay, so I don't know if you can tell as I was reading that, my major question I was reading as I was reading this was, so what does that mean? Okay, this needs to be linked back to the question. So the question is specifically talking about obesity, and it's talking about fitness. Okay, so what this candidate hasn't done is they've not mentioned either of those words in the answer. They're trying to give examples, but they're not specifically linking this to the question. Okay, so especially this final sentence. So the jobs, they're saying that people's jobs now need less labor than before. Okay, well, what does that mean? How is that making people's weight increase? Okay, so you would need to add another sentence that would say something like, therefore, okay, people do less labor-intensive jobs now than in the past. Okay, excuse me, less labor-intensive jobs. Okay, so therefore people do less labor-intensive jobs now than in the past, and as a result, they're living a sedentary lifestyle. So that's another word for not moving. You're living a sedentary lifestyle, and people's weight are increasing, or people's fitness is decreasing, or this is creating a sort of a weight-related health crisis. Okay, so that's how you need to link all of this back to the question. So it's okay, I understand that you're saying that modern technology is making people less active, and then people's jobs are becoming less active, but that all needs to be linked back to the question. Okay, so this whole paragraph was, I guess the point was relevant, but they didn't show me that it was relevant by linking to the question. So that's my main issue. The other issue I have with this paragraph is that some of the phrasing is a little bit off, and there's some sentence like, for example, and these machines help the owner to move less. Okay, the owner to move less. This is strange, and this is really too specific. Okay, you want to be more general and then be specific in your example. Okay, so this could be linked. So these machines help, or these machines allow consumers to move less. Okay, or to be less active. And saying the owner is really too specific. So you want to start off with like a general sentence, a generalization. And then in your example is when you start to get, specific. For example, owners of Roomba, vacuum cleaning robots no longer have to walk around the house to hoover, and as a result can begin to get less, become less fit or something like that. When they say we should wash clothes by hand, this is you're talking about the past. When we don't have a laundry machine, we have to, you don't have a choice. It's not a recommendation. We have to wash clothes by hand. For that, we used to bring our clothes to the riverside. Everything in this paragraph just needs to be linked more strongly to weight gain and to fitness. They're almost there, and I think this candidate maybe thinks it's obvious that these things would make people become less fit, but they need to say explicitly in their answer. So then we look on to the next paragraph. Another reason is that even though people become more comfortable physically, they are suffering from the stress in their work site. So work site isn't really the correct phrase to use here. A work site is construction, it's building. So like, don't go down that road, it leads to a work site or something like that. They are suffering from stress in their workplace, it should be. In the past, strongness and healthiness was the things that people pursued. Strongness, I think this person means strength. Strongness isn't correct. Strength and health were the things that people pursued. However, after the industries were changed, people are needed to be more creative and smart. So again, we've got weird tenses going on here. Was changed, are needed. After the industries were changed, people were needed to be more creative and smart. This makes people to be more exhausted. This makes people more exhausted. So even though the people have more free time, they don't exercise for their fitness. Okay. So again, I'm like, okay, so they have tried to link to fitness here, but I don't really get the link between stress at work and people becoming more exhausted. Okay, so I think this is my main issue with this paragraph, is this sentence. Okay, so people need to be more creative and smart. This makes people more exhausted. Why? You've not explained that link clearly. Why does be a job that requires you to be creative make you more exhausted than a job that requires you to work on a farm, for example? Like, that doesn't make logical sense to me, so you need to explain your logic. Okay, so you're like, the current industries, the tech industries or the design industries require people to do a lot of thinking and staring at computers, detailed planning and teamwork and lots of communication, and require people to multitask. Therefore, people become more mentally tired than previously. Okay, you can talk about mentally tired. So when people get home, they don't want to exercise because they're mentally tired or they're mentally exhausted. Okay, then you'd be like, therefore, when they get home, people don't want to exercise, and then people don't exercise and become less fit. Okay, so that needs, the cause and effect needs to be explained more strongly. Okay. Let's have a look at the next sentence. And we've got, furthermore, these days we can easily find and eat delicious foods around us. In addition, the delivery services food are increasing. In addition, delivery services food are increasing. It means that if we don't consider, this comma is not needed. It means that if we don't consider our eating habits, we can easily gain weight. I think I have an issue in this way with the way it's too personal. I prefer in task 2 that you keep it sort of more formal and just keep it to these days, people, you can give a good sentence, people who live in modern cities or citizens of developing countries or something like that. Citizens of developed countries, it should be, sorry. Something like that, rather than keep saying we. We sounds, too personal. And my first question is, who is we? I don't know you. Are you saying we as in American people? Are you saying we as in people who live in developed countries? Are you saying we as in South Korean people specifically? So this is why we is a little bit weird to use, because I'm a stranger, I don't know you, so I'm not involved in your we, because you've not defined who your we is. Okay? So I prefer candidates to use a different phrase, and this can also help your grammar score. If you say people who live in modern cities, people who live in large urban areas, blah, 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 blah. Okay? So my first issue with this is too short to be its own paragraph. I'm not entirely clear why this candidate has chosen to do another paragraph. So far they've gone 3 points, 3 separate paragraphs, but this one feels too short. Okay? So, and what's strange about it is I don't know how many paragraphs or how many points they're going to make. Okay, so this is why your introduction is so important. So if in your introduction, this candidate had written something like, in the intro they said, this essay is going to discuss 3 causes of this and 1 solution, then I know going into it, okay, there's going to be 3 paragraphs. And I don't get surprised as I keep reading down. I'm like, oh, there's another one, and there's another one. Because the typical structure, obviously, of a task 2 is that you have your introduction, and then you have your body 1, body 2, and then you have your conclusion. Okay, and it's totally fine if you want to add in an extra paragraph. You want to do 3, but you should really highlight that in your introduction. Okay, so the examiner knows this is a plan. I know that the candidates thought about it and they've made a plan, and they're not just writing randomly off the top of their head. The other thing that I have an issue with in terms of task achievement is these are all sort of 3 they feel random and unconnected ideas. It doesn't feel structured to me. So we've gone from industry and technology. We've gone from industry and technology to sort of, again, people's workplaces, and then we've gone to sort of delivery apps and food. So that it feels like 3 very separate ideas that haven't been linked together. So what this candidate could have done is they could have linked all these ideas together under the sort of banner of modern technology. Okay, so they could have said something like, you know, the main cause of weight gain and fitness is the development of modern technology. You know, there are 3 reasons why modern technology has caused this. Okay, so you can talk about the advances in technology, like they talked about washing machines and, you know, people aren't as fit because we're using technology to do things. Also, as a result, technology has changed employment, so people aren't working as much in employment. Also, technology has changed eating habits. Okay, so can you see how under that one sort of general banner, now these three subtopics feel related and they feel connected. And it feels like a coherent argument that the person's thought about before they start writing, okay? So that would be my main advice to this candidate so far, is that their task achievement, their logic and their cohesion doesn't feel very linked and it doesn't feel very planned, okay? So then we go on, they've got another paragraph when they talk about the solutions. When we notice above reasons, notice above, there should be reasons, there's more than one, about why people used to get weight. We're talking about currently where people gain weight. You don't get weight, you gain weight or you lose weight. We have below solutions, or, you know, they should say something like, I have proposed some solutions below, would be the correct way to say it. First, the government should, we're making a recommendation, should help people to get less stress in the company and society. In the company, this is too specific, you've not told me a company. In companies and society. And they should make mood to start workout. This is a sort of sentence fragment, it doesn't really make sense. You know, you should give an example. Where's your example? The government should help people to want to work out. You need to tell me how. How would the government do that? You know, play dance fitness music on the subway? I don't know what your solution for that would be, but I would be, you know, you can make it some kind of example for that. Second, people should check what they eat and make a plan to eat healthy foods. Too short. This should be expanded. You should give an example. You should talk about the possible, you know, advantages, or how can we make people do this? Okay, how would we make people plan to start eating healthy foods? Okay, again, this is also for your solutions. This is supposed to be the second half of your essay. Okay, the first half should be about causes, the second half should be about solutions. This candidate, though, so if we look, that's it, has only given me 4 sentences about that's supposed to be the second half of their essay, so it's too short. It makes your essay unbalanced, okay? My first thought when I'm looking at this is I'm thinking, okay, well, this candidate clearly ran out of time. They spent too much time writing about the causes. Maybe they got halfway through writing this section and suddenly realized they only had 5 minutes left and quickly wrote a very short solutions, okay? Because what they've not got is they've not got a conclusion. There's no conclusion in this essay, okay, which is an issue. Your essay should always have a conclusion or a summary, okay? So it makes the essay very unbalanced, it makes it feel rushed, and it makes it feel like you didn't plan it, okay, which affects both your task achievement and your coherence and cohesion. What does cohesion and coherence look for? It's more than just these linking words that your teacher likes to focus on. Coherence and cohesion is the idea that your introduction states what you're going to talk about. You talk about the things you laid out in your introduction, and you have a nice summary and conclusion. Coherence and cohesion is about showing that you've done a thought-out, planned essay, okay? A lot of times in IELTS, people panic because of the short time, and they don't take just 1 minute to think about the question, to make a short plan. What topics are you going to talk about? And then that gives you the chance to sort of sort through your ideas and think how you're going to link everything together. One of the marking criteria for task 2 is progression. Is there a logical progression of ideas, okay? Do your ideas link together? And that's what this candidate is struggling with, because they've got these, like I said before, these 3 kind of unconnected causes. So I'm like, okay, altogether these are causes for this issue, but they're not linked together. So it doesn't feel like you're progressing. It feels like you're jumping from one unconnected idea to the next. Okay, so this is why it's so important to plan before you start writing. And a lot of candidates worry, they think they don't have enough time to plan. That's what you should be doing in your practices, okay? The more you practice, the faster you get at writing. You have that extra minute, just 1 minute. A minute is actually quite a long time when you're thinking. To sit down and plan what you're going to write. Okay, so when we get to the marking, okay? So for task achievement, I had to mark them low. They didn't spend enough time on solutions. Their essay was unbalanced. You need to link your ideas to the question. Link to the question and you need to give examples, okay? Give more examples about what you're talking about, especially in the solutions part, okay? Coherence and cohesion, again, what I was talking about, it doesn't feel connected, it doesn't feel thought out, it doesn't feel planned when I'm reading it, okay? The paragraphing is confusing, okay? So one thing we call is about signposting. If you'd signposted in your introduction that you're going to have 3 causes and then discuss 2 solutions, then your paragraphing would make more sense. Okay. Vocabulary. Actually, there was some good vocabulary this candidate used that I liked. They used the word innovations early on, which I liked a lot. They had a phrase. They said comfortable physically. People are becoming more comfortable physically, which was a nice phrase. So you know, their vocabulary was adequate for what they wanted to talk about. And their grammar, I can only give them a 4.5 for their grammar because there's too many short sentences. If you go back and you read through what they wrote, I could only find 2 complex sentences in the whole answer. So if we go back, there's like everything is short sentences, short disconnected sentences. There are 2 complex sentences, which I marked down. And another reason is that even though people become more comfortable physically, they are suffering from the stress in their work. That in the past, with things, however, after the industries were changed. So we've got a complex sentence here. People need to become more creative and smart. And then we've got one here. So even though people have more free time, they don't exercise for their fitness. Okay, 2 complex sentences, but the same structure. So if you look at it, they've got a clause in there, but it's exactly the same structure repeated twice. Okay. So what I would advise to this candidate is that they really need to work on including more complex sentences. Okay? To hit a band 5, you need to be using a mixture of short and complex sentences. 2 is not enough, and 2 of identical structure is not enough. So overall, this candidate can only get a 4.5. I can see that they understood the question, they had reasonable vocabulary, I could tell that they'd worked on that. They were trying to answer the question. I just wonder whether they ran out of time while writing, or they spent too much time on the first half of the essay, not enough time on the second half of the essay. So those would be my 2 things. 1, work on your complex sentences. 2, work on your task achievement, planning and structure more. So that would be my main advice to this candidate.